So for flooring, what you want to do is use the grid. You're going to draw lines that are about 6 inches apart using your grid. If it's going to come from the left finishing point, that's completely up to you. You're going to just use 6 inches as a roundabout estimate, just because it's just for a drawing, so you don't have to be super specific. It is just kind of giving the feel that it's going to be wood. Then for the length of the wood plank, you're going to go to the opposite vanishing point. And then once you do that, you're going to hint at it at the length, and then you're going to use your pencil drawing to give it texture. Now this part is if you're going to do any kind of base molding. So you're going to do the profile, and then you're going to go to the opposite vanishing point, just like this, so that it gives some kind of transition between the floor plane and the wall plane. So this might be your little quarter round bit here. Just to give it some interest. Now if you're going to choose wood, here we're going to stick a piece of paper under there so you can kind of see what it's going to look like, but you're going to, ideally do all of it. You're going to use a really loose hand to draw the wood planks, or the wood grain rather, so that it's kind of like having caffeine hand, so that it gives a sense of the wood grain without being too stylized. And that's a bit what it's going to look like. Now if you're going to do wood grain from the opposites, in the opposite direction, you're going to use the opposite vanishing point. So I'm going to do a sample of that on this other side of the room. Now ideally you're not going to use the same design for one perspective. This is just showing you two different direction options on my grid here. And then for the length of the planks, you're going to use the opposite vanishing point. So you're going to do that, something like this. And if you want to do the base molding, this is the same thing. Now this is the wood graining in this direction. And then I'm going to stick a piece of paper under there so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. And that's how you draw wood in a 2-point perspective. Now we're going to do beams. Beams, you're going to use the grid, the wall grid. And you're going to figure out the spacing between each grid. So I am almost doing like an elevation on the side wall. And I'm using the grid that I've already drawn. And I'm spacing out however, whatever distance you need it to be. So this is almost like the profile on the right wall, if that's where the beams are coming from. Now you're going to go through each corner. So this side you'll see the right plane of it, and then now you're going to see the bottom of this particular beam. This guy again, starting the top of it where it intersects the ceiling. This one is the bottom of it, and the other side. So now you're going to see the bottom of that beam. And you're going to only do the 3 exposed sides that you will see. You won't see the opposite side unless it's a glass item or acrylic item. But if it's a solid item, you're only showing the bottom and the side that you will see. Now you're going to go ahead and redraw the ceiling line. And then we're going to stick a piece of paper under here, and then you can kind of see what it looks like with the corner and all that good stuff. This is your room. Okay, we're going to stick a piece of paper under here. And that's what you're going to see. Now you're going to go ahead and erase that initial elevation, that shaded in line that I have, so that you can see what it really looks like. And there you go. That's what it's going to look like. Of course, this is just a sketch. You got to clean it up. Now, if you have beams coming from the other side, you're going to do the same thing. But now you're just using the left wall. So that means you'll use the left vanishing point to do this, the perspective lines. So you're going to draw that out. You're going to use the left vanishing point. You're going to go through the room, from the bottom of the plane, the left side of this beam, the bottom of this beam, the left side of this beam, and then you're going to do the ceiling line again. And then erase the under the footprint that you had initially drawn on the wall, and then you have your beams that are coming from the opposite side of the room. Now, in order for us to do a tray ceiling, this is kind of a multi-step demonstration where we're going to do the tray. So we're going to use the side grid for the left and right to draw kind of like an elevation of, you know, the soffit and where it peaks up into the tray. So that's going to be like the profile. So I've dotted out where the ceiling plane is and where the tray goes up, and I'm doing it for both sides of this room because you have different dimensions. You have to do both sides when you're doing a 2-point perspective because it has to intersect. So here in the pink I have the profile for the left side and the right side if I were doing an elevation. So right now I'm just hardlining the new ceiling plane. So instead of going all the way to the top, this is your new ceiling line. And now I'm doing the opening for the tray. So using that little measuring point that I drew in pink. This is the opening of the tray from the left wall, the right wall, and then you're doing it from on the left side where you have the measuring point. You're using the left vanishing point. And then what you're looking for is the intersection. When you intersect these lines, you now have the opening of this tray, just the opening. So you might have the opening, but you have to still think about how high you're going to go up within this tray. So that's why your pink lines, your profile lines are really important. So once you have the opening, you're going to draw the vertical line for how this tray goes up. Okay, so that's my exaggerated construction line. I exaggerate it so that when I intersect my perspective lines, it has something to intersect. Here is measurement line. There's the top of the bump up of this tray. And now I'm using the left vanishing point to get the other side. And so that becomes, if you're going to do a tray ceiling, this is all you have to do. You're done on that. The next part is just me kind of visualizing where a light fixture would be. But the next part of the demonstration is doing the coffer ceiling. So you're going to, again, use those pink lines to kind of do your math and see, okay, how many coffers do you want? How do you want to space it? So because I'm doing a segment of just like 2 small ones and then a long one in the middle, I'm only doing the math on the right wall. I'm not doing anything on the left wall. So if you're going to do like 6 coffers, then you're going to also do the math on the left wall. But because I'm only doing it in one direction, I'm only doing the profile on the right wall. And I did little dots for all these kind of intersections. So here is the inside top of this beam. This one is the bottom of this beam. Okay, and this is the other side of the bottom of the beam. Then I'm going to do the vertical So you can kind of see inside one coffer right now. We're going to do the same thing for the next one, where you're going to see the top of this beam, the bottom, and the other side of the bottom. And then again, I'm going to draw the vertical line, and so you can see the completed beam. And then I will erase the lines that won't be shown because the beam is a solid entity. You won't see the lines of the ceiling. So here you have, a three coffer kind of ceiling, and that's it. That's how you're going to do it. If you're going to split those into halves and do 6, you will need to do the profile on the left wall, but it's the same kind of setup. If you're going to do 9, again, you're going to do it on the left wall. So this is just if the coffer is coming from one direction. And so that's what it's going to look like. Of course, when you trace it on the good paper, you're not going to show the pink lines at all. That's just your kind of construction line. So you won't see them at all. Those will not get transferred to the final piece of paper. They just helped you do the math for your rough draft of the ceiling. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is if you're going to do light fixture coming from the ceiling, you are again using the grid. You're going to figure out, where you're going to want to come from. So here's my midpoint within that coffer. So I'm going to draw that measurement line, and then I'm going to drop it into the room. So here is the drop. This is as if you're doing an elevation on the side wall. Then you're going to look at the dimension of your photo reference and see, okay, where's the bottom of this light fixture? How high is it? And you're going to draw this elevation. So that's the top of this one. And you're going to do the same thing on the other wall. Because remember, my chandelier is more of a rectangle chandelier. But you might have a square one or you might have a round one, but you're still going to use the grid wall line to kind of help do elevations on both sides. So here I'm looking again at the midpoint within that space. And then I'm going to drop it into the room. So I'm doing the wall elevation on the left wall. So that's what it's going to look like. So the dimension on this wall will be more of the depth of this light fixture. So it's not the width, it's the depth. So again, it's a little rectangle that I'm drawing with their height and the bottom of this. And then I'm going to extrude it from the vanishing points. So again, if you want to use different colored pencils here, that's fine. So you're going to extrude it just kind of like word art being extruded from your wall. But this one, now you have kind of like a rectangle that you're extruding from your left wall. And then you're going to do the same thing from your right vanishing point for the right wall elevation. So here's the bottom of this light fixture. Okay. And then this is where the 2 different colors will help you, because right now there's just a bunch of black lines, and that's why I exaggerate my construction lines. Now I'm going to kind of look at where it intersects. I'm trying to find the box with those 2 intersecting lines. Then I've got to do the bottom of it. So I'm going to extend into the room where it intersects the left extension. I'm going to go ahead and darken this just so you guys can see it a little bit better. But now this becomes the box that your light fixture will be drawn within. So if it's a rectangle light fixture, you can draw what you see based off of a reference picture. If it's a, an oval light fixture, you can draw within the box. But I've highlighted it here so that you can kind of see, because it is hard to see with all the black lines, but you can kind of see where your light fixture will hang within the space. And then what I want to do is kind of draw the midpoint of that, and then go ahead and draw it to where it intersects the ceiling. I'm going to draw my light cover, It's an oval, and this is my rough draft. Of course, when I trace it over to the good paper, I'm just drawing what I see, using the box as your approximate area of where that light fixture will be. And there it is. You can see that a little bit better with a white background. And that's how you draw a tray ceiling, or you can use this information to draw the coffer within the tray, or you can use this information to draw just a light fixture. So I've erased the kind of guidelines, the elevation that I've drawn against the wall, so you can kind of see it a little bit better. And there you go. That's a light fixture.